Hello, welcome to the research portion of Legal Research and Writing. Together, Elizabeth and I will be able to assist you through your law degree in your legal research training and to help you at such times when you need help. The legal research component will have three parts, these being the first session, which will cover an introduction to legal research, as well as secondary sources. The second session, which will cover primary sources, namely case law research including noting up case law, finding Singaporean legislation, and finding parliamentary debates. Finally, the third session, where you will be learning how to use Lexis and Westlaw, two major law databases. For our first meeting in week 2, you will have to watch 2 videos, this being the first of the 2. Starting in week 2, you will see the law librarians in class for 2 hours. Prior to each class, there will be videos or readings you'll be required to review. In class, there will be a quick recap and an opportunity to discuss issues in more depth. This will be followed by hands-on activities which will enable you to apply what you have learned. In week 2, we will focus on the importance of research strategy, introduce you to search techniques, and orientate you to legal databases such as Lexis and Westlaw. You will be introduced to legal secondary sources and how to make use of these tools for effective legal research. In week 3, you'll be introduced to case law research, the important process of noting up, as well as how to search for legislation. Now, over weeks 5 to 7, you will have to register for a 1.5-hour workshop. This will be held on a Thursday afternoon on the Learning Lab of the library on Level 3. You will have to register on the library website for your slot. A separate email will be sent to remind you, and attendance is compulsory. Here is an outline of the video content that will be covered in week 2. The first video explains the importance of having good legal research skills and the benefits of applying a legal research process. The second video explains online search strategy and how to effectively use Boolean searching or terms and connectors to conduct a more effective search online. So why is it important to have good research skills? Think about it. Why is it considered such a critical skill for law in particular? For one, it saves you time. All of you are very intelligent. If you are given enough time to work by trial and error, you might be able to locate the information you need. However, after just one term of law school, I think you have realized that you do not have the luxury of time, and you will have even less time in practice. The goal of these lessons is to make you an efficient and effective researcher. Time is also money, which goes to the next aspect, cost. Cost-effective researching is not something you have to worry about now in law school. You have unlimited use of the library's databases for your studies at SMU. However, when you start practicing law, there will be costs incurred for legal research. Firms have a chargeback policy that determines the research costs that will be billed back to the client and how much should be absorbed by the firm. Even if the firm has a flat rate contract for a database, it does not mean that you need not worry about how you use it. The term flat rate can be confusing. The contract rate for the next renewal will depend on the usage for the current term. So if you do not approach your search in a paid database like Lexis or Westlaw systematically, you may run up unnecessarily high usage charges, which the firm will have to pay come renewal time. Also, your time is money, and you want to be efficient in how you use it for the client's and firm's benefit. The latter is the most important aspect and is part of the lawyer's professional and ethical obligation. The practice of law involves activities including drafting documents, counseling clients, negotiating with other lawyers, and advocacy. Each of these activities demand that the lawyer knows and applies the law in a particular situation. So ask yourself, what are the consequences if you do not do a thorough job researching an issue for a client? Research skills are critical because the law is vast and constantly changing. It is impossible for you to know everything. When you are in practice, you will be frequently asked to research on topics you will never have encountered before. You can't turn around and say that you didn't study that in law school. As I've mentioned before, the goal is to become an efficient researcher. Basically, you want relevant and authoritative results in a shorter time, at the lowest price possible. I have explained why it is important to have good research skills. So how do expert researchers do it? Well, good researchers always have a plan. By plan, I do not mean highlighting keywords in your assignment question, throwing them into a Google search box, and hoping for the best. By plan, I mean a method or process to apply when researching a topic. By applying this basic process, you should be able to start researching on any topic. When you have been given a research question, the first thing you should do is to take some time to identify the scope of the question. Think about the issues and areas of law, and try to identify the facts, jurisdiction, and applicable time period. Think about the possible key sources, whether be it a text or database which you might refer to, and the search terms you might use. Remember, this is a mind mapping process and does not have to be 100% correct. You're just thinking about all the possibilities. The next step should really be consulting a secondary source. This is often preferable to starting with a keyword search in a database. Don't forget, you are often researching on something you know very little about, so this would be a good way to find out what keywords you should be using. Starting with a secondary source, such as a legal encyclopedia or a key text, will give you context, terminology, and highlight key cases and key legislation in both the body of the text as well as the footnotes. This will then allow you to expand your search. Some of these valuable secondary sources will be covered in the next session. Referring to secondary sources would have highlighted relevant legislation, which you will now have to locate in full text, check for updates, and look for other related legislation to it. Your prior search on secondary sources would have identified some relevant cases. You now need to locate them, read them, and evaluate whether they are on point for your particular question. The next stage is to determine if the authority is still good law. This is an important process which sometimes gets overlooked, and will be covered in more detail in session 2. The process not only helps to check if it is still good law, but also helps to expand your search by identifying subsequent cases that may have followed, applied, or distinguished the decision. Research is seldom a one-stop process, and you will need to fill gaps in your research. You may have to conduct online searches in other databases for other commentary, cases, or legislation. When conducting your online searches, you will have to try different variations of your searches too, to ensure you get the most comprehensive and relevant materials. Last but not least, you should keep a record of your research trail. Take meticulous notes as you work through your research strategy, and include titles, URLs, citations, page numbers, and other such things as you work. I know most students dread this, but it pays to keep track of what text you have reviewed, which databases you have searched, and the keywords you have used. Good notes will prevent you from having to retrace your steps in the future. This concludes the end of this video. If you have any other questions, please do not hesitate to contact the library at library@smu.edu.sg. Thank you for watching.